Right, so I'm just going to go through the basics of how to use this Oregon chain grinder, the 520-230. So I've got a large 3/8 chain here, Stihl chain, which is pretty beat up. So yeah, all the corners are gone on this one, and yeah, not good at all. So before you get started grinding, you want to calibrate your bed, as it were, in relation to the disc in the center of the motor. So what you probably want to do is find your smallest chain, whatever you're grinding, whether a 1/4 inch or something like that, and set it to the middle of the tooth, inside the tooth between the cutting tooth and the Raker gauge. Set it all the way down, and what you basically want is for the rails, middle of the rails, to be perfectly lined up with the center of the shaft, if that makes sense. So the center of this bolt here. So then when you spin this round, left or right, for either side cutter, this should be more accurate, if that makes sense. Bring it down, get some kind of straight edge in there, and then either clamp this in or something, and then visually check that it's lined up. And how to adjust that, there's 2 bolts on the underside here, look, and then this whole thing will be able to slide. You've got a little gauge here, look. As you can see, my one's slightly this way. You want to roughly check yours before you start grinding. I find it certainly helps with getting it more accurate when you're turning the table for either side cutter. The first thing we need to do, we need to get the correct disc on here. I've got the little smaller disc on because I've been using that mainly. So yeah, we need to get our bigger disc. Slacken off this little flap here, and then get your Allen key. Will come in the set. You can just hold the disc and unscrew it. Get the right size, whichever one you want on there. Slide it up on. Locate onto that shaft there, see? Make sure the disc doesn't come off that shaft, obviously. And just tighten it up. Don't need to go over tight with it. You could risk breaking the disc, but just snug it up. Little push by hand, make sure it's running smooth and true. With discs as well, there's a test that you do, sort of the dullness test. You know, hold it up and give it a tap. If it sounds tinny, it's good. If it sounds sort of dull, like a dull thud, there could be a crack in it or something wrong with it. Right, so the next thing you want to do, get your little gauge here, and obviously find the size of your disc that you got on, and make sure it's it fits into that nicely. The shape's good. It's got the radius at the bottom. This one's not quite perfect, a little bit out. So what you do here, you get your little stone, run it, and then just use just adjust this wheel to the shape of that. I just need to basically just touch these corners up a little bit. Obviously get it secured down to the bench. I've just got some clamps at the moment because again I haven't got around to setting it up properly yet. Obviously power switch on the back there. This little yellow pin here, if you screw that out, that stops the head coming down. So when you do your first fire up as well, just briefly on off, just to make sure you've got that wheel on properly. Put your little flap on as well. Get your safety glasses and PPE on and stuff. So we're just gonna lightly yeah, just try and find the right angle to sort of look down. It's not quite perfect, this one. Yeah, it looks good. So these are going to be the basic settings. I'm not going to bother with any tilts or anything at the moment. I don't tend to bother anyway. It doesn't matter for the application of these chains. You want to do your back one here, undo that, and then this whole thing pivots and turns. See, what you're looking for here is this 55 degree here. Again, go in the booklet and see whatever chain you're doing and stuff. But yeah, it's normally 55 degrees tilt. So again, this one you've got a 0 degree marking on here, 0 degree angle, and then you've got a 10 degree down angle. So if you want a 10 degree down, obviously you go to the 10 degree down mark. But I'm just going to go on this first one here. It's also got an actual point where it locks in on that section as well. So there we go. Look, we've got this ridge here lined up with the 55 degree. Obviously make sure your screw's nice and tight in the back. Right, so onto our clamping system here. That's your tightener. Watch that, will squeeze. So that squeezes the chain. So obviously get it in the grooves. This is your little stop here. So you butt that up to the back of the tooth. This is your wheel or knob that's adjustable. So obviously you screw that in and then the chain's going that way. So obviously if you screw this in more, you're going to be taking more off. This little bit here is for where your stop actually sits on the tooth. So try and get it central as best you can. You've got to be careful that you don't, when you're tilting it, sometimes you can catch it. So you've got to make sure it's in a good position. Underneath there'll be another twist knob, so undo that. And then this is your rotation here. So obviously if you're doing this side here, you'll go to this mark. So you either do, they say between 25 and 35 depending on what you're doing. I'm probably just going to go I'll do 30 on these actually. So yeah, every chain will be different, but again it depends what you want. The higher the angle, the quicker it'll cut basically, because it'll be a steeper angle on this top plate. But again, it won't hold up as well as let's say a 25, maybe 25 or 30. You'll have to play around with it. Lock it in. Again, I'm not going to bother with the down tilts or anything like that. I just do straight, standard, no messing. Left hand side cutters, you move it to this side here. So this right here is our depth stop. So how far down into the chain we're going. It's quite hard to film this. So what you want to do is drop your head down, get eye level with it, and look at your chain. And you don't want to be going deeper than this section here. So you just want to be eye it up. Probably go a little bit higher. Eye it up in the middle of the tooth to make sure it's fully home. And we're just probably about a millimeter. We're a millimeter above this middle bit here. Right, so next thing you want to do, you've roughly set up your depth. You need to set up now how much you're going to be taking off. What I like to do if a chain's severely beaten up is, rather than go off the worst tooth, I find like an average of the worst teeth, if you know what I mean. So yeah, again, bring your thing down and then you can wind this out and then just sort of gauge how much you're going to be taking off. Mil maybe. So we're just going to set it there for the minute. When you're setting up, the first thing is not to get it bang on, but it's just to get it roughly there, and then you fine tweak it. So yeah, make sure your chain's sat down. butted up against the back, lock it down. We're just taking off 1/2 mil maybe, and again make sure your depth is not set too deep. Alright, so we're ready to give it a little test. What you want to do is just do very light little so there we go, you're trying to get all the rubbish off the top plate, so you want a nice straight top plate again. I probably need to take a little bit more off the corner depth wise, possibly a fraction too deep maybe. Not too bad. You want to have a look at the shape of your hook as well, so depending on how deep you go, you could have a bigger hook, which will make the saw a bit more grabby and aggressive. So I might just raise it up a fraction. That's not a bad starting point. I'll probably just tweak this, screw this in ever so slightly, just so we're not going as deep. And then what I'll do is I'll slacken this bit off here, screw it in a little bit as well, just so we're then taking more off. So you advance the chain, this will go into it a bit more. Yeah, that one should be alright, I think. So again, you're not really going too deep down into the tooth, and you're not going into these straps, but you're keeping a nice little C shape on that tooth. If you see that, and again, you've got to get rid of all the rubbish on the corner, and that needs to go. It needs to be a perfect chisel all the way around. Do all of them at that size, and then in the really bad ones, I'll individually, just before I change over, I'll just go back. So yeah, just advance to your next one along, clamp it on down. So there you go, that's a bad tooth. Look, you see all the rounding and deformed corner and top edge. And that's nice sharp one, nice straight edge there. So we'll get all that side done, and then come back and switch it over. So I've done all that edge. What I then do is just visually check every tooth. I judged it quite well actually, I think, with the setting, how far back to go. I've taken most of them out. Why I don't set it to the shortest one, if you've got plenty of life left on the chain, if your shortest one was like complete, one tooth was completely smashed off and you had to take like half of it off, there's no point in taking the whole chain, taking half off every single cutter. That's just a waste of a chain. You may as well just sharpen them all to a sort of rough standard, and then the one that is really short, sharpen that individually short. A lot of people say, oh, you need to have these need to be the same length. That's wrong. It needs to be, the depth gauge here is what we'll address later, which needs to be the same proportional distance from there to there on every tooth, which makes your cuts clean. So yeah, don't be fooled in thinking that every tooth needs to be exactly the same length. It's a load of rubbish. So yeah, check every tooth, make sure I've gone far enough. Right, so we can do our other side now. So obviously the chain goes in facing the same direction with the teeth pointing forward. Make sure your little stops roughly in the right position. Underneath again, twist your knob, and then we'll spin it to 30 degrees this side. Tighten it down. Don't just assume that that is going to be the same distance, because it won't be. It'll be there'll be differences in it, you know what I mean, the size. So what I'd recommend doing is the ones you have sharpened, just get a tape measure and measure from the back edge to the corner, and we're 6mm pretty much, roughly. Get a vernier and measure it properly if you want to. So yeah, 6.5 pretty much. So you want to make this side the same as that, effectively, just to make the chain as smooth as possible. Again, it doesn't matter too much because we can adjust. We'll be taking the rakers down for each individual tooth. So yeah, what I'd recommend doing on this one now is to back this off a bit, just so you're not taking not taking that much off, and then you can wind it in. Let's have a look. So that's close. Probably need to take a little bit more off. So we'll just creep this forward ever so slightly. Quarter of a turn, half a turn maybe. Have a look at the shape of your tooth as well. That looks pretty good. Got rid of the gullet, got a bit of a nice C shape there. Top plate nice and straight. Got rid of the dirty corner, smashed off. Roughly measure that. 6.5, yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, happy with that. So, same process, get these all sharp. So again, doing it this way just stops it overheating the teeth. If you just to go, you know, straight down quite quickly, you blacken the top of the tooth. And again, depends how much you're taking off. I'm taking quite a lot off. I'm taking probably a good 1.5 mil. So the more you're taking off, the slower you need to be. So that is our chain, nice and sharp. What I'd recommend as well, if your chain is really sappy, I'd get it cleaned off, because that will go and cut the stones quite a bit. You want to check your wheel periodically as well, make sure it hasn't lost its shape. So you'll need to dress it every now and then. You know, this is a very nice tool to use when you've got big chain that's beat up from people who abuse it. and don't look after their chains. Very time saving, and yeah, when you got 20+ inch chains to sharpen, full comp chains, it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, handy tool to have. So now all you got to do is do the depth gauges. You can do it on here. You put the thick square disc on and you can set up, but honestly it's hardly worth doing, swapping out the discs and all the stuff. It's better to just get this back on the saw. So yeah, I just find it easier to do the depth gauges by hand. Now you want to get the proper size depth gauge. I've got a video on different depth gauges and stuff, but these Stihl ones are good. So we want 3/8 large. So we get our depth gauge. So that's just coming out, see there, with this Stihl one. Soft or hard? I normally stick to the hard. And then just work along and get all those done, and then each tooth will be taking the same size chip, so it won't matter if you know, you've got some that are one that's shorter or something. But yeah, I'll get this back on the chainsaw and get it tensioned up, and then do all the Raker gauges. But that's very important. Don't just sharpen it and not hit these, because yeah, these need to be a fraction lower than this top corner, so it actually takes a chip. So anyway, I hope that was helpful with the Oregon grinder. Like I say, any questions, let me know. It's all in the booklet anyway, how to use it. That's just a very basic how I do it. I don't make it too complicated really. It's as long as you get in each tooth sharp, it's should be fine. So as always, appreciate you watching. Leave me a thumbs up, be much appreciated, and yeah, catch you on the next one. Cheers.